Here we go. All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Daniel Unmanageable, and this is Hard Knocks Talks. We have a special episode tonight, and it is brought to us in part by Chrism Prairies, Prairie Sky Recovery, Double T Ranch, and the Newly Institute. So, last year, tonight's guest, Tammy Gould, needlessly lost her son, 17 years old, to overdose. Tonight, Tammy will courageously relive her experience in an effort to send a powerful message, and she will be joining us right after this.
I spent 23 years living in addiction. 16 of those years, I worked as a Red Seal tradesperson in Saskatchewan and Northern Alberta. During that time, I made many mistakes and took more than a few hard knocks. I went from tradesman to business owner to hiding from gang members and dumpster diving. But with that lived experience, I've decided to try and make a change. I've dedicated my life to raising awareness and promoting change in the fields of substance use and psychological health and safety. So join me and my guests as we take off the blinders around mental health in our communities and at work and shine a light on what's working and what's not working in the fields of mental health and occupational health and safety. I'm Daniel Unmanageable, and I'll be your host, and this is Hard Knocks Talks.
Okay. Well, Tammy, I hope you're ready, because here we come. Good evening, Tammy.
Good evening, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are you feeling okay tonight?
Yeah, butterflies, but we'll get by it.
It usually the first 5 minutes. After that, we settle in and things go all right. So, are you ready to dive in?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your son when he was growing up?
Marcus was adopted at 13 months old, and by 7 years old, we had him diagnosed with multiple diagnoses, one of them being Asperger's, but many others were like ADHD and such. So developmental and social delays. So we put him into groups like Precious Minds and Carrie's Place, and anything that we could do to help him, we did. With him finding them to be a big bore, but we found that sports, like football specifically, was his vice, and he did very well with becoming a team player in sports and being very well respected for the most part. He went on in his 10 years to play many different jerseys. He played for Team Ontario in different provinces, and he played Team Canada Bowl was his last big game that he played in BC. So he served his province. He served, our country, not country, but played against other provinces in the country. And he actually loved the game. So he wound up, before he left, training kids, helping to train the kids in football. And he quite liked it. So it was a vice that helped him immensely, but it was also where some of his bullying started.
Mm-hmm.
It was also between that and Facebook, he got bullied quite a bit for coming out with his he didn't know whether he was leaning more to girls or boys. So he kind of got picked on because he came out and said he thought he might be gay or leaning that way, and that was quite a hit to him. Some of his friends came out and said some nasty stuff. So anyway, that
sorry, my dog sort of
Was it your dog?
That was my dog.
That it-
Yeah, he's never barked during a show before, so I don't know what's going on. So I apologize if that
oh,
happens again.
I feel flattered.
Yeah.
So anyways, he did struggle a lot in social media and stuff, and trying to stay in groups and get liked in groups. So he got picked on a bit, and that kind of um, I guess laid a burden on his heart as well. But in high school, he started to get more and more in trouble as soon as he went into high school, and we never dawned on us that he might be doing drugs. I don't know what to look for with drugs. Never did it myself.
So
But
how old was he when you noticed he was starting to get into substances?
honestly, I didn't even know he was doing the drugs. When he went out on the street, I had no clue that that might be why he was locking himself up in the room and not coming out and not being with family.
Hmm.
I didn't think that. I thought it was because he the football was over, and we had just moved, and I didn't know if that was laying on him where he didn't like the school or something. But he wouldn't hang with us. He was very aggressive in his approach. So if you talk to him, he'd snap at you and come back with some really nasty stuff. So we just thought teenagers, what happens all the time. But when he went on the streets and then started saying that he was hanging with a friend doing pot in his friend's house, I thought it was kind of odd. And then I thought, well, don't get over, upset with him, because that's not going to deal it. It's not going to fix it for us. He's doing pot. They're all doing pot. And everyone says pot's no big deal. So we couldn't really punish him for going out and doing pot because I couldn't prove it. And what parent can stop their kids from touching pot? He's doing it without permission. He's just going to go do it anyway. So if he was doing pot in school, we would never have known. We couldn't have done anything about it. And by the time he got home, he wouldn't know either, right?
Yeah. So was he getting into trouble at school?
Yeah. He wasn't a fighter, like getting into fist fights or anything, unless someone was picking on someone else. He was more of he would stand up for his friends. So if he got into a fight, it was because someone else was being mistreated or whatever, and it was a friend of his. But he was getting into skipping classes, apparently doing drugs during school hours, going out, at lunchtime or whatever, and just, doing their typical teenage stuff, I guess, where didn't want to be in class, so I'll go and I'll sign in the morning and you won't see me the rest of the day. So I did get a lot of, um, principal calls and stuff.
Yeah.
But mostly in his high school, the first year of high school, second year of high school.
So he left home. How did that unfold?
My birthday was February 16th, and I took the day and sat around, which is abnormal for me. I'm a very busy person. And so I took the day and sat around, and the next day was Family Day, February 17th, when he snapped at me. I asked him to help his father shovel the driveway, and he told me that I felt entitled and I should get the F out of his room. It was just a blow up where he cursed at me and I cursed at him. And he's run out before, he's come back before. So it was just one of those things where you just thought, he'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it had to do with drugs after or what, but every family has issues, and that wasn't enough to make a kid just disappear. There's more to it than just mom saying, you know what, this is my house. You can't tell me to get the F out. So there was more to it than that, right?
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
he went that day and he hung with a friend, and we thought, well, he'll come back that night. So the next day he hadn't come back. We went to the police station and reported it. They said that they couldn't make a police report because he wasn't a missing person. And they continually said that to us.
So why wasn't he a missing person? Why wouldn't they consider him that?
Well, that night it was because he was with his friends. And then after that, it was because he was attending school and constantly signing in the morning. So until COVID hit, he was going to the police station, spending the nights, going to school in the morning and signing in. So I could not call and say that he was a missing person at all. He wasn't missing, right?
Right. Right. But the police were seeing him out on the street, correct?
Yeah. Officers had commented to us when I went in. They had said, well, as long as he's just doing pot and he's not hanging out with so and so who's doing meth, he's fine. Apparently, it was acceptable at 17 to be doing pot, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't.
Yeah. And what did the ministry do to step in?
The ministry,
Like
nobody stepped in. Still, you mean Children's Aid?
yeah, sorry. It's called something
Well,
different here, I
Children's
guess.
Aid came in on the scene in, I believe it was end of March, early April. It was the end of March. And they were only on the scene for 21 days. She didn't leave her office. They never met him. They sent out some Heart and some other organizations to reach out to him, but he didn't like them to begin with and didn't want anything to do with them. And the funny thing is, when you're doing drugs, it affects your brain. He's already a special needs child, a young man, a boy, whatever you want to call him, but he's already functioning at a lower level, and you're adding drugs to that. And now Children's Aid is on the scene, can't get anyone to help him because he's refusing it. And as long as he's refusing it, they won't give him the care. It's a vicious cycle, right? Because he's not really functioning at a capacity enough to make the proper decisions, but they're saying he is. Because they can see him, he's walking, talking, he's doing everything like every normal person would do, seemingly,
Yeah.
except making the right choices, right?
So
So Children's Aid left.
so what were some of the things that you were doing? Because when we spoke last week, you said that you went to great lengths and spoke to a lot of people. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when going into the police station failed, I still continued to stop police officers when I saw them, and it didn't matter what time of day it was. I still asked them if they had saw the young boy. And when that didn't work, I started going on Facebook. I created a Facebook page that was fake. I pretended to be a boy on Facebook and friended some of the homeless so I could get in and see who he was hanging with and try and make friends enough to strike up a conversation. And then I would walk the streets, I walk down in the valley, I walk down the river to see if he was anywhere there. And when that didn't work, after work, I might drive down and smell the air to see if I could smell marijuana and sit outside of houses to see if he might be in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did run into him a few times.
Yeah. I went to the school a couple times, and the homeless were there at the time because COVID had hit, and he was 17. He was too young to be housed in with the COVID group. The 18-year-olds and older were housed in the school, and he was too young, so they were putting him up in hotels all over the place. And it was the homeless that said to me, oh, he was at the Best Western. So I go to the Best Western, and he was there 2 weeks ago. So then I go back to the homeless. And that process went back and forth until finally I hit the right one. And he said, yeah, Marcus is staying with another person. And he told me where to go. And I went there. And an electrician working in the building said, yeah, I remember seeing that boy. So he advised me when he was there again. And I just kept watching until finally I caught him. I pulled him aside and asked him to have lunch with me that was a Friday. I pulled him over and asked him to have lunch with me on Saturday. And he did. We went and we had Subway and we talked, and then he agreed to have lunch on Sunday, and we went and had Swiss Chalet in the park, and we talked some more. And he said, Mom, he said, I know what I'm doing is wrong, and I am coming home. So I ran home, like the schoolgirl, hey, he's coming. And I called the doctor on Monday, and I said, he's coming home, and I need whatever assistance he's going to need. And by the time she got back to me, it was Wednesday, and he was gone.
So
Sorry.
it's okay. Take the time you need.
I'm okay.
So what would what do you think would have helped?
Um, every time you talk to the police, and they're going to say it no matter what, every time you talk to them, it was always, it's not in our power to do this. We have to follow the rules. This is how it's done. And I'm sorry, but even asking for a form two, it was too much work. That the judge said she was busy and he didn't need it. And it all boils down to, this is not a cookie cutter world, and we can't run every person who's out there taken and judge them by the same laws. You can't run a society like that, because there's no two people alike, and none of these rules fit every single person, you know. So he wasn't fitted like a normal person who has no special needs. Sure, they might fall under the don't go and pull him over, he knows what he's doing, but Marcus had to be taught from the age young to age 7, with little pictures on the wall, how to brush his teeth and what to pack his bag. And I knew him,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody reached out to say, hey mom, what can we do to help him? Why is he out here? Nobody, until the day that he was on the slab and in the hospital getting compressions. They called, come mom, you got to come see him now, because well, he's dying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you doing these days?
I'm still trying to get an investigation done on it, and they've refused. They said that nothing was done wrong, so we'll review it again. There's not much I can do. It's in the arms of whoever makes the laws again. So if they say that nothing was done wrong, it'll continue. It'll always continue. The coroner came to my house and sat at my dining room table, and he was speechless at a 17-year-old boy sitting in his you know
Yeah.
I don't know what to
Yeah.
say.
So just so that we understand, so what is the age of consent? Like as far as
It's
you
funny.
not, yeah, like let's talk about this, because you couldn't do anything as far as the law is concerned. Like you couldn't just go scoop them up and hold them captive, but at the same time they wouldn't do anything to help him either.
No, I found him. I went into the police station once and said, have you seen my boy? And they knew who it was. And they said no. And I turned around and he was wasted on their bench in the police station. I asked him to come home, and I had no right to take him home. At 16, I don't know if we should say this loud, but at 16, they have the legal right to leave home.
But you're still legally responsible for their actions.
You are financially and legally responsible for their actions. You're responsible to have them in school, but
So what
you
was
have
the
no.
how did the community respond to you when they saw your son struggling?
I'm sorry, I don't. The community.
Yeah, like the teachers and like the other parents and stuff. Did you get any support from the community?
Um, we get the odd message, but like he was staying with families, and families were not reaching out and saying, your boy's here.
Hmm.
Nobody, because they were believing him. See, the thing is, when they're doing drugs, they can say anything and it's believable. So he
Hmm.
was telling them he was living in a foster home, not that he was living in a $1 million home up the street with parents who both ran businesses. We were financially sound. There's no reason to run away. But he was telling them he lived in a foster home. He was telling them that he was cutting his arm. There's no cuts on his arm. Anything they say can be believed,
Yeah.
because no one's going to question it. And no police came and looked to see where he came from, or who was his parents or anything like that.
Hmm.
So the support wasn't really there as far as the community goes. I didn't really reach out to a lot of community, because the school was taking care of it, and MHART was supposed to be dealing with it, and CAS was in there.
Yeah.
So I know he was helped by Salvation Army.
Right.
They fed, they gave him food and that. So when he passed, I took in a carload of coats and stuff for the homeless there, because I had to pay it back. He did get some help from Greenwood Coalition, I think, but other than that, I mean, he refused everything, and they can refuse it. They're not stupid. They know what they're going to do, right?
Was
It was
he?
all about independence, right?
Yeah. Was he ever charged with anything? No possession or anything like that? And had he been
No,
charged? Had he been charged? Would there have been services made available to him?
um, I think they might have had the services because the hospital did have the ability to help him, and I think M. Hart and them would have had the ability to help him. But he refused. He didn't like her to begin with, but he refused services himself.
Mm-hmm.
So he never really got to that stage to find out. I know that they do help others, but it's getting to that point where, if they're on the street and they're refusing and the police aren't forcing them, how do you help them?
Yeah.
Some of them want help, they're crying for it, and I'm sorry, but it just takes that hand to reach out and say, can I help you? What can I do? Right? Do you
Yeah.
want me to take you home? If not, can your mom help you another way, or can your family help you?
Yeah. Okay. I think we will move into the viewer's voice here. We have a lot of comments here. So unless you have anything you'd like to add before we go into that.
No.
Okay. Well, that's not super appropriate music for this. Sorry.
That is my picture. It was the only good picture I've had since all this went on.
I missed it. I'm sorry. If I would have known that, I would have put some more appropriate music in there. But there's so much that can go wrong, so I apologize. Maybe it. Yeah. Let's see what we got here. We've got Double T Ranch commenting here. So many of us parents have no idea kids are using substances. So hard to identify the differences between depression, anxiety, and usage. We do the best we can.
I never used myself.
Yeah. We've got Tice chiming in. Thanks for being here tonight, Tice. He says, speaking for many that can't be here. Yes. We've got Double T Ranch again. I'm so sorry. Our prayers are with you and your family. What else do we have? Ranch again. You can't change what happened, but your voice is loud and clear. Thank you for having the courage to speak out. Oh, I need to make my comment boxes bigger. You will help at least one other person. Sherry. Thanks for watching tonight, Sherry. My heart and prayers are with you. Just know in your heart you did everything you possibly could as a mother. We have Barb. Barb, this is a total failure of all supports. I'm so sorry. It must have been extremely frustrating and disheartening to have to watch that go on and not be able to do any. Honestly, what would have happened, do you think, had you taken matters into your own hands?
I actually asked Marcus if I asked him to go and get a Form 2 done, would he have done it? He wasn't combative that way with me, and he had the utmost respect for me. So him being out there, that's why he would run. He was very embarrassed. He knew what he was doing was wrong. But once you get into drugs, it grabs them, right? And then what? They got to keep going for it. So he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he also knew that, he would have gone in. He said he would have gone in for the report, the Form 2. He said, Mom, I would have done it. So all they had to do was ask him. Same with police. All they had to do was ask and tell him, and he would have done it.
So they never reached out to him in any capacity at all.
Well, the cops talked to him. A few of them spoke and said that they've talked to Marcus on the street. One of the ladies said that she spoke to him and told him he should talk to me. And But when it's all said and done, if you don't tell a teenager that what they're doing is wrong, if you don't say, you know what, it's inappropriate for you to be out here at this age, you should be home with your parents, they're going to keep doing it. It's because they're allowed to that they're going to. So the laws, they're allowing them to go out at such a young age. And now look what's out there, right? Yeah. Michael Friscolani from Maclean's magazine wrote a piece for Marcus in the September edition. Mm-hmm. It's a good read, extremely good read. And it's not just about him, it's about multiple other people on the streets and stuff. It's a very good read.
You have a petition that is still active, correct?
Yeah, it's still there. I haven't looked at how many were on there. There was over 700 the last I looked, and I did try, and I'm still trying to collect names, but we did reach out to a few politicians, and it didn't go very far. Still working on it, but yeah, I'm still trying to pull in names, and if we can, I was hoping at first that I could get something similar to like a Casey's Law, or, you know, in the U.S. where the families kept involved, or, you know, some kind of allow the parents the right to still parent, stop taking away our rights. You know,
tell us a little bit about the Casey's Law.
Well, in the States, it's more like when you're in the hospital, whether you're old or young, if you need care, the family is still entitled to reach out and help you. But here in Canada, if you're in need of care, your family has no right, no say. So with Marcus's case, I had no right to say, you know what, Marcus has special needs. He shouldn't be out there. Can we help him? Can we bring him in? You bring him in into the hospital, get him tested. I have no right to say that, even though I raised him. I know every mark on that kid's body. Every time he fell, every time we went to the hospital, I know everything about that boy. Mm-hmm. But I was not brought in when time came that they needed to, you know, he's out there and help him. No one asked. Right? Yeah. In Casey's Law, they actually involve the family. The family helps in the rehabilitation, or in the, you know, the helping them get back on their feet.
Yeah. We've got some more comments coming in. God, Claudia, parents try so hard to get what their kids need and hit so many roadblocks. That's so true. We've got Donna chiming in. Total failure. It happens way too frequently. Yes, Donna, we do know something about that, don't we? We have a question here about the petition. What is the focus of the petition, and where can we find it? If you can give us an address, we can put it in the chat so people can find it.
I will share it to you. It's on my Marquee Mattered page on Facebook. So okay. It's pinned to the page. Okay. And that's just at Marquee Mattered on Facebook, right? We do have a website, but it's not on there, I don't believe, and I haven't been on that site for a little bit. But the focus was, at the time that Marquee died, you know, the right to parent, the right to help your loved ones, whether they're 17 or 75, or just give us the right back to step in and say, you know what, this person needs this, we know them. Instead of strangers, taking care of your loved ones and helping them in their treatment, right?
Yeah. We've got another comment. Owen, thanks for watching, Owen. Thank you for your courage to share this. I have learned a lot from this episode already. What else do we got here? I think that might be about it. Is there anything that you would like to leave us with tonight, Tammy?
Just, you know, parents think that no, I mean, our rights aren't there. And until we all stand together and speak up instead of turning away when we see, you know, homeless on the street, don't turn away from them. When you see kids on the street and, you know, you think that they're okay and they're carrying their backpacks, they're not okay. They need help. Mm-hmm. Reach out and help them. Don't give them money. God, don't give them money. One person gave Marky money. I said, why'd you do that? Give them a meal. Give them anything but money. because they don't need that. They need a meal. They need help. They need
Mm-hmm.
someone to talk to, reach out
They
and
need
be
their
a friend.
family.
They need their family.
Yes.
Yeah. Love heals, right?
Yep. Okay, Tammy. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We will let you get back to your evening. I understand it's quite late where you are, so we'll let you get to bed. Take care.
You.
Take care, my friend.
You too. Bye now.
Okay, we are going to speak with Angie Hamilton now, coming to us live from the CN Tower in, let me see here, the International Overdose Awareness Day event in Toronto. Here we go. Hey, Angie. Oh, hang on a sec. You're muted. My bad. There, try that.
Hi, Dan. Can you hear
Yep.
me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Yeah. So thank you for sending us those images of the CN Tower there. That was beautiful.
Yes, it is it's a beautiful sight. It's a really hard day though.
Yeah, it is. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the events that you participated in today?
So there were really two events.
Can
one
you
was
turn your
morning-
phone sideways? There
Is
we
this
go.
good?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So there were. Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you. Can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the morning there was an event at the Toronto City Hall, Nathan Phillips Square, and Mom Stop the Harm and Sistering had it was really impactful. They had a whole bunch of quilts that had individual. I don't know what to call them because I'm not a quilter, but like 12 by 12 patches that represented people who had passed and messages, and it was it's overwhelming, right? They had, I don't know, looked like 10 or 12 quilts, and each one had probably about 20 people on them. So that was powerful, and only a few of us were allowed up where Mayor Tory was, and he gave a good, I think it was a good speech. I think he really gets it. I think Toronto Public Health really gets it. He did ask for the feds and the provinces to send money because they need money to deal with these issues. And then Irene from Mom Stop the Harm spoke.
Oh.
It was very moving. She said what they're looking for from the government. And then we went down and mingled. And then tonight there was a candlelight vigil at the base of the CN Tower. And again, they hung all the quilts on a wall, which was very impactful. And there were, the good news, I guess good news, bad news, I don't know. Like, there were more people this year than last year. There weren't as many members of the media as I would have liked.
Yeah.
There just was, I think, City TV at City Hall. There was no one here tonight. So I don't know what coverage it's getting. There's a lot of competition right now with COVID and the election and Afghanistan and everything.
Yeah.
But I hope that they cover this
So
with the attention it deserves.
So tell us a little bit about what Families for Addiction Recovery do. What kind of services do you offer, and what do you advocate for?
So we have three different types of services. We provide one-on-one peer support for parents who have children struggling with substance use disorder, regardless of the age of the child. Our oldest child has been 55, so the parents were like late 80s, early 90s. So we don't care what age the kid is, we're there for the parents.
Yeah.
And the one-on-one peer support, it's 8 1-hour sessions, over 2 months or whatever the supporter and the parent feels are appropriate.
Yeah.
And all our parents are trained in something called the motivation to change approach, or invitation to change approach. And it uses a combination of craft, which is community reinforcement and family training, and ACT, which is acceptance and commitment therapy, and motivational interviewing. And we have group support, 4 group support meetings a month. And we also have a helpline Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 Eastern time. So those are our services. We educate a lot, particularly, I know this sounds crazy, but physicians, we like to give them the family perspective. We're supposed to have not only patient-centered care, but family-centered care. So we tell them what we think family-centered care looks like, which is this isn't just about the person with substance use disorder. It never is. And everybody needs support. Everybody needs coping skills. The family is on their own parallel journey of recovery along with the person with substance use disorder.
Yeah.
And so education, and then finally advocacy work, which like Mom Stop the Harm, we want to absolutely see drug policy reform, decriminalization, regulation of substances, but also we want to see reform to our health laws, which is sort of what Tammy's situation and horrible experience and failures of our systems on every level really illustrates, right? Like parents aren't allowed to protect their children, and the hypocrisy of that. When you think of the laws we have to protect youth,
it seems interesting that okay, the parents can't protect the youth, but the police won't do it either. It makes no sense to me. I don't understand how. I mean, can you shed some light on that? Because I certainly can't.
It's stigma. Like if they're using substances, they're bad, and often, the kids' lives are in chaos if they have untreated addiction and co-occurring disorders. And I'm going to just flat out say, when a kid's struggling with substance use disorder at an early age, I don't know any that don't have co-occurring conditions, right? So if they don't get the help that they need, their lives are often in chaos. Sometimes they can't live at home. We've got something like 25 to 35,000 homeless youth.
Yeah. And
I don't know the percentage that are struggling with untreated addiction and mental illness, but I think it's quite a few. And it's just so hypocritical to have all these laws to protect youth, and the jokes about helicopter parenting. And let's get real. They can't legally buy a beer. They can't legally buy a cigarette or a joint. But if they happen to be struggling with an addiction and they can't stop, we're good with that. Well, we drive parents crazy by telling them the importance of early intervention, and then we say, but you can't intervene. Like, you have to wait for them, to hit rock bottom or whatever. And I really do think that is stigma. Like, if your child has an eating disorder, you can intervene. If your child is at the edge of a bridge, no one is going to say, they have a right to jump. Autonomy is king. You have to wait for them to hit rock bottom. They have to want help. They're just going to grab the kid and help them, right? But if they're consuming poison that could kill them, and their next use, they could die, we're good with that, actually, as a society. That's totally fine. And it's appalling. Like, we don't have enough detox. We don't have enough treatment. We certainly don't have treatment on demand for them. It's like, if it's residential treatment, nobody waits longer than youth. We don't keep them safe while they're waiting. So we don't provide the treatment, and then we don't keep them safe, and we don't keep them from being criminalized, while they're waiting.
We've got some comments coming in here. Charlotte, sorry if we missed any of your comments earlier. Charlotte says children have more rights than the parents but do not have the capacity to make such decisions. As well, community is only as strong as the people involved. Systems tend to overshadow the real work needed. Yes. Anything to add to that?
I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so my background is law, and we have laws that are supposed to protect people with mental illness. We have mental health acts, and we have laws across Canada. They're provincial, so they do vary slightly from province to province. But people have to give informed consent to treatment. That also means if they refuse treatment, they have to have capacity when they're refusing the treatment, and they're assumed to have capacity. But our doctors, they don't get a lot of training on addiction to understand that it's actually a lack of autonomy with respect to use and what you have to do to get the substances. So they have it beaten into their heads that autonomy really is king. Like, patients don't have to have any treatment if they don't want, but they're not trained to realize that that's actually what a person's disability is if it's addiction, right? Like, when you think of the definition of addiction, which is compulsive use or almost it's a lack of control over use, notwithstanding adverse consequences. That's like saying your disability is your ability to say yes to abstinence-based treatment, which I think sheds a lot of light on why harm reduction can be so helpful, because you're not saying, listen, the carpet you're standing on, that is your security, and your main coping technique is, alcohol and drugs. And we're going to now rip that away from you and expect you to cope when we haven't given you any other coping skills. It's a lot easier to say, can you switch from an illegal substance to a legal substance, and can you use clean needles, things, so it doesn't have to be abstinence based. It's easier to agree to that than to abstinence based treatment.
We've got some more comments coming in. Barb F saying, I'm not hearing enough from federal candidates about the opioid crisis or the drug policy change. This should be a focus. What else do we got here?
Well, they have come out with their platforms. I mean, at least the Greens and the NDP are in favor of decriminalization. The feds, I'm just going to say it, they really like to suck and blow on this one.
What does that mean?
It's ridiculous to say we're going to do this on a city-by-city basis. We have 5,000 municipalities. As a mother, okay, you're going to criminalize my kid because he's standing here, but you're not criminalizing his friend because he's standing over there because this city is decriminalized and that city isn't. That's just, it's not defensible. It's...
Yet here we are.
From being illogical and unfair, it's ridiculous, right? So I hope they smarten up about that. And I do not hear from the Conservatives that I think that they are unlikely to decriminalize. I think that will be worse with them than the Liberals.
Yeah.
I think the beds thing might be better with them than the Liberals. This is ridiculous because it's a health condition. We need harm reduction and we need beds, right?
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. It's both and more of each now.
I was actually I addressed the police commission a little while ago here in Saskatchewan, and so the address, the decision being made that day was, are we going to think about this or not? And they've decided that they're going to think about it. So there's that.
Well, listen, I really didn't see that the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police would be in favor of decriminalization before the federal government. That kind of says it all. And we now have CSAM, the Canadian Society of Addiction Medicine, also on board. So, once you've got the healthcare providers and the police saying this isn't working, it's really shocking that the government isn't listening. How long are they not going to listen?
Yeah, we've got some more comments coming in here. We got in Saskatchewan, we have very few treatment centers that will even take people under 19 years of age. And if anybody out there doesn't know what TX means, that means treatment. What else do we have here? People with toxic brains are not competent to make sound decisions about what their mental and physical needs are. Absolutely right. Oh, here we go. Is it not illegal to deny people in Canada medical attention?
So, oh, trust me, I keep looking at that charter, and I'm looking at that charter.
It should be mentioned that Angie is a retired lawyer, and also, and I didn't mention formally that she is the founder of Families for Addiction Recovery. So, sorry, I had to throw co-founder. Okay,
yeah.
They are 11,000 strong on Facebook.
Yes. So the problem is with respect to health. You can't make the government spend resources in one particular area. So, like, if they actually had a policy that said we're not going to provide help to people with substance use disorder, that would probably be contrary to the charter. But if they just don't do it, it's probably not.
Mm-hmm. And we've got.
It's not. Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm just going to put up some more comments here as you're talking. I don't see any questions, but I see a lot of support. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the solutions lie actually in health laws. We need more protective health laws. Traditionally, I mean, we have the ability to intervene when people are a harm to themselves or others. And that usually is applied with respect to people who are psychotic or might have schizophrenia and they're delusional. And that's when it tends to happen. To my knowledge, it's never happened just with respect to someone with substance use disorder. I think it's safe to say almost everybody who overdoses, who's struggling with an addiction to an illegal substance and leaves the hospital, is a harm to themselves, because if they can't stop using and they have no access to a regulated supply, I honestly, it looks to me like a violation of our mental health acts when you let them go. So what should they be doing? Well, they should be in the hospital offering the medications to treat opioid use disorder. And, if they're not going to treat it and let them go, I think they have to at least make sure they've got a regulated substance so that they aren't playing Russian roulette with their lives. Like, if they were truly playing Russian roulette, like if they came in because somebody saw them and they had a gun and they had like one bullet in the chamber and they were like sitting in the park, like just spinning the thing and pulling the trigger.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a very good idea.
They're a danger to... Right, and neither does the use of substances that aren't regulated, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's something wrong there when we're just letting them go, knowing that they are a harm to themselves. And I have been told by physicians, some physicians, not all physicians, but that the reason they're letting them go is the Mental Health Act requires them to go to a locked psych ward, and that's not the right place, which I agree with. But then what the hell? Where are the right places? We don't have any. Let's create them. Let's make sure we've got the right places for people to get the help that they need.
Yeah. Okay, Angie. Well, I think the comments have slowed down. You said that you might have somebody else that would like to say a few words. Is that going to happen?
So it is not. It was Irene Riley Patterson from Moms Stop the Harm, and she just pretty much got tuckered out. She's been going all day.
Yeah, well,
and she had the opportunity to get a ride home, so she went.
Okay, well, it looks like Tammy threw a link there in the chat. I think that is a link to her petition. Please have a look at that. Click on that, and if you agree with it, please sign your name on it, and let's gain a little bit of bit of progress. Angie, thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm going to let you go.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
thank
very
you.
welcome. Yeah, take care, my friend.
Night.
There's power in numbers. If you would like to contribute to ending the stigma around emotional pain, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Like and comment your thoughts on our posts. Let us come together with our lived and living experience as a resource that has the power to engage new thought processes, to promote new ideas, to broaden the spectrum of care, and to show the world that we need to do better. We need to be willing, and we need to do it now. Good night.
Thank you.